വെൽക്കം ബാക്ക് ടു എൻചാൻഡ് ലേണിംഗ്. ഇറ്റ്സ് മീ ബനാസർ ഖാലിദ്. അപ്പൊ 2025 വിവിധ പരീക്ഷകൾക്കായി പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്നതായിരിക്കുമല്ലോ നിങ്ങൾ. അപ്പം ആ ഒരു എക്സാമിനേഷൻസിന് എല്ലാം മുൻനിർത്തിക്കൊണ്ട് ആണ് നമ്മൾ ഇനി തൊട്ട് ക്ലാസ്സുകൾ പ്രൊവൈഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ ഇത് ഡിഗ്രി ലെവൽ പ്രിലിംസിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് നിങ്ങളെ ഉപയോഗപ്പെടുത്താനൊപ്പം തന്നെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മറ്റുള്ള എക്സാമിനേഷൻസിനും ഈ ക്ലാസ്സുകൾ ഉപയോഗപ്പെടുത്താവുന്നതാണ്. അതിനു വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഇന്ന് മുതൽ ഈ ക്ലാസ്സുകളിൽ ആവശ്യമുള്ള സ്ഥലങ്ങളിൽ മലയാളം ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷൻസും കൂടെ പ്രൊവൈഡ് ചെയ്ത് പോകും. അപ്പൊ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അത് മറ്റു പരീക്ഷകൾക്കും വേണ്ടി ഉപയോഗപ്പെടുത്താം. അപ്പൊ ക്ലാസ് നിങ്ങൾ ഉപയോഗപ്പെടുത്തുക. തീർച്ചയായും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ക്ലാസ് ഉപയോഗപ്പെടും. അപ്പൊ നമുക്ക് ക്ലാസ്സിലേക്ക് കടക്കാം. Before moving to the class, let us start with a quote as usual. Work hard in silence, let your success be your noise. That is, you work hard in silence and your success be your noise. That is what I meant. അപ്പൊ നമ്മളുടെ മറ്റുള്ളവർ എന്നിട്ട് നമ്മൾ പഠനം എന്താണ് നമ്മൾ മുന്നോട്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ, എന്നിട്ട് നമ്മളുടെ സക്സസ് ആയിരിക്കണം മറ്റുള്ളവരെ അറിയേണ്ടത്. അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ നോയ്സ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് സക്സസ് ആയിരിക്കും. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് വാട്ട് ഇറ്റ്സ് മെന്റ്. വർക്ക് ഹാർഡ് ഇൻ സൈലൻസ്, ലെറ്റ് യുവർ സക്സസ് ബി യുവർ നോയ്സ്. അപ്പൊ നമുക്ക് ക്ലാസ്സിലേക്ക് കടക്കാം. കഴിഞ്ഞ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ we were discussing about citizenship and we also mentioned that topic, that is the citizenship. How can the citizenship can be acquired and those provisions regarding Citizenship Act of 1955. ഇത്രയും കാര്യം നമ്മൾ കഴിഞ്ഞ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ മനസ്സിലാക്കിയത് അല്ലെ. അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ അതിനു മുമ്പ് നമ്മൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കേണ്ട മറ്റൊരു കാര്യത്തെ കുറിച്ച് പറഞ്ഞു പോകാം. As recently we have studied that the first state to implement uniform civil code, that is Goa, and you have to note the point that Goa follows a uniform civil code based on the Portuguese Civil Code of 1867. Goa adopts uniform civil code as per the Portuguese uniform civil code as per the Portuguese Civil Code of 1867. That is, as per Portuguese Civil Code of 1867. That is what we have to note. So that is a major point we have to know. So here Goa is not the first state to implement uniform civil code, or it as per the Indian constitution. As per the Indian constitution, the Goa is not the first state to hold first state to implement uniform civil code. Here Goa adopted uniform civil code as per the Portuguese Civil Code of 1867. And so you have to also note a point: the Goa Dam and Due Administration Act of 1962. Goa Dam and Due Administration Act of 1962 permitted it to retain the colonial era civil code. So this Goa Dam and Due Administration civil code, Goa Dam and Due Administrative Act of 1962 permitted Goa to retain the this colonial era civil code. That is why Goa is adopting this uniform civil code as per Portuguese Civil Code of 1867. So that is what the top fact related to Goa. Now we have to understand that Uttarakhand became the first state to implement or to adopt uniform civil code on January 27, 2025. So Uttarakhand is the first state to implement uniform civil code, adopt uniform civil code on January 27, 2025 as announced by the Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami. So that is the two major facts you have to recollect. So that is a related to recent current affair. That's two facts. That is, Goa is the first state to implement uniform civil code as per the Portuguese Civil Code of 1867, and Goa Dam and Due Administrative Act of 1962 permitted Goa to retain this colonial era civil code. അതായത് Goa Dam and Due Administrative Act of 1962 ഈ പറയുന്ന Portuguese Civil Code of 1867 ആ ആക്ട് പ്രകാരം, ഗോവ ഡാം ആൻഡ് ഡ്യൂ അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേറ്റീവ് ആക്ട് ഓഫ് 1962 പ്രകാരം അത് റീറ്റെയിൻ ചെയ്ത് പോകാൻ പെർമിഷൻ കൊടുത്തു. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഗോവയിലെ യൂണിഫോം സിവിൽ കോഡ് പോർച്ചുഗീസ് സിവിൽ കോഡ് ഓഫ് 1861 പ്രകാരം അഡോപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യപ്പെട്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇനി ഫസ്റ്റ് ഇന്ത്യൻ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്, which is the first state to implement or adopt uniform civil code is Uttarakhand, that is as on January 27, 2025 by, and it's announced by the Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami. Pushkar Singh Dhami. That is all about uniform civil code. So കഴിഞ്ഞ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ നമ്മൾ യൂണിഫോം സിവിൽ കോഡ് ഒക്കെ ക്ലാസ് ഒക്കെ പഠിച്ചായിരുന്നു അല്ലെ. അപ്പൊ അവിടെ നമ്മൾ ഇതും കൂടെ ഒന്ന് ഓർത്ത് വെക്കുക, ബ്രഷപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് വെക്കുക. അടുത്ത നമ്മൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത് you have already studied how a citizenship can be acquired. Now, so how can a citizenship can be acquired as per the Citizenship Act of 1955? So, Citizenship Act of 1955 provides 5 ways of acquiring citizenship, namely, which are they? By birth, by descent, by registration, by naturalization, and incorporation of territory. That is what we discussed in last class. Now, moving to the next topic, that is how a citizenship can be lost. That is, as we have studied that how can the citizenship be acquired by means of birth, descent, registration, naturalization, and or incorporation of territory, etc. Now, we are moving to the next one, that is, as per the Citizenship Act of 1955, it also prescribes 3 ways of losing citizenship, whether acquired under the Act or prior to it under the Constitution. That is, as per the Citizenship Act 1955, the Citizenship Act prescribes 3 ways of losing citizenship. Which are they? That is by renunciation, by termination, and by deprivation. So 3 ways of losing citizenship as which that is provided by the Citizenship Act of 1955 are by renunciation, by termination, and by deprivation. Now, by renunciation, any citizen of India of full age and capacity can make a declaration renouncing his Indian citizenship. Upon the registration of that declaration, that person ceased to be a citizen of India. However, if such a declaration is made during a war in which India is engaged, its registration shall be withheld by the central government. So, note the point. Any citizen of India of full age and capacity can make a declaration renouncing citizenship. So, any citizen of full capacity, of full age, he can make a declaration renouncing his Indian citizenship. Renouncing means what? Tejikya. Means adu vendannu vekka. So, any citizen of India can make a declaration renouncing his Indian citizenship. And as per this, upon this registration of this declaration, that person ceased to be a citizen of India. So, whenever a person makes a declaration to renounce his Indian citizenship, then the person ceased to be a citizen of India. എപ്പോഴാണോ അയാൾ renunciation declaration കൊടുക്കുന്നത്, ആ declaration register ചെയ്യപ്പെടുമ്പോൾ തന്നെ അദ്ദേഹം ഒരു Indian citizen അല്ലാതെ he stops to be a citizen of India. However, if such a declaration is made during a war in which India is engaged, if such a declaration is made during a war, if such a declaration is made during a war in which India is engaged, then such registration shall be withheld by the central government. So, this registration of this declaration is provided during a war with which India is engaged, then this registration will be withheld by the central government. So, you have to note the point. Further, when a person renounces his Indian citizenship, every minor child of that person also loses Indian citizenship. So, another fact is that when a person renounces Indian citizenship, whenever he renounces his Indian citizenship, എപ്പോഴാണോ ഒരു ഇന്ത്യൻ സിറ്റിസൺഷിപ്പ് ഒരാളെ വേണ്ടാന്ന് വെക്കുന്നത്, ഇന്ത്യൻ സിറ്റിസൺ വെക്കുന്നത്, ആ ഒരു സമയം മുതൽ he ceased to be a citizen of India, and every minor child of that person also loses Indian citizenship, and every minor child of that person, ആ ഒരു വ്യക്തിയുടെ ഓരോ കൊച്ചു കുട്ടികൾക്കും ആ സിറ്റിസൺഷിപ്പ് നഷ്ടപ്പെടുന്നതായിരിക്കും. However, when such a child attains age of 18, he may receive Indian citizenship. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു കുട്ടി 18 വയസ്സ് തികയുമ്പോൾ he can receive that Indian citizen. ആ ഇന്ത്യൻ സിറ്റിസൺഷിപ്പിനെ റിസ്യൂം ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കും. അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ ബൈ റെനൗൺസിയേഷൻ എന്ന പോയിന്റിൽ എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് പഠിച്ചത്? That is, the Citizenship Act of India provides, so it prescribes 3 ways of losing citizenship. So, the Citizenship Act of 1955 prescribes 3 ways of losing citizenship, and that citizenship was acquired under the Act. So, this citizenship can be lost by means of 3 ways. They are renunciation, termination, deprivation. And the first one is renunciation. According to this renunciation, any citizen of India of full age and capacity can make a declaration renouncing his citizenship. And upon this registration of this declaration, that person ceases to be a citizen of India. And if such a declaration is made during a war in which India is engaged, then central government will hold that declaration. The central government will have the authority to hold the declaration. Registration. Like declaration was registered, and this registration was held by the central government in case if there is a war occurring in between India and another some other country. And next point is, when a person renounces his Indian citizenship, every minor child of that person also loses Indian citizenship. And another fact is that this minor child attains age of 18, he can resume Indian citizenship. That is by renunciation how Indian citizens loses their citizenship. Is it clear for you? Next, moving to the next one, that is by termination. By termination, that is when an Indian citizen voluntarily or consciously, knowingly and without duress or undue influence or compulsion acquires the citizenship of another country, his Indian citizenship automatically terminates. This provision, however, does not apply during a war in which India is engaged. So, another point, the next way of losing Indian citizenship is by termination. Here, when an Indian citizen voluntary means by himself, without, that is by consciously, by knowingly, and without any influence or compulsion, he terminates or he acquires citizenship of another country. Here, listen here, by termination means if an Indian citizen knowingly or by consciously or voluntary and without any compulsion acquire the citizenship of another country, the Indian citizenship will be automatically terminated. And is it clear? This provision does not apply during a war in which India is engaged. So this provision is not applied during a war in which India is engaged. So here also the provision does not applicable during a war in which India is engaged. So by means of termination, Indian citizenship can be lost. That means when an Indian citizen voluntarily or consciously without compulsion acquires citizenship of another country, his Indian citizenship will be automatically terminated. And this provision will not be applicable during a war in which India is engaged. Is it clear for you? Next point is by deprivation. By deprivation, Indian citizenship can be lost. That is, it is a compulsory termination of Indian citizenship by the central government. Second way of losing Indian citizenship is by termination. That termination occurs when a particular Indian citizenship acquires a citizenship of another country without voluntary, without any compulsion. And here by deprivation means here compulsory termination of Indian citizenship is occurring, and that too by the central government. Compulsory termination of Indian citizenship by means of central government is by deprivation. In which all cases compulsory termination of Indian citizenship is provided by the central government. So the central government terminates Indian citizenship compulsory in these cases. Which are the cases? First case, the citizen has obtained citizenship by fraud. If the citizen has obtained such citizenship by means of fraud, then his citizenship will be terminated by the central government. If the citizen has shown disloyalty to the Constitution of India, if the particular Indian citizen has shown any disloyalty to the Constitution of India, his citizenship will be compulsory terminated by the central government. And the citizen has unlawfully traded or communicated with the enemy during a war. That is another case. If the citizen has unlawfully traded with not any law means, that is illegally provided a trade or illegally done had a trade or communicated with the enemy during a war, then also the particular citizenship will be terminated by the central government. And the other case, the citizen has within 5 years after registration and naturalization been imprisoned in any country for 2 years. That is, if a citizen within 5 years after registration and naturalization means you have also studied, that is, by naturalization citizenship can be acquired. So if the citizenship is acquired by a particular person and that citizenship is acquired within 5 years or 5 years by means of naturalization registration, and then he has been imprisoned in a country for 2 years, then his citizenship will be terminated by the compulsory terminated by the central government. If he is imprisoned in any country for 2 years. Then the citizen has been ordinarily resident out of India for 7 years continuously. Another case, the citizen has been ordinarily resident out of India for more than 7 years continuously. Then also the citizenship will be terminated by the central government. So these are the means by where the compulsory termination of citizenship is provided by the central government. So by deprivation means it is a compulsory termination of Indian citizenship by the central government. That means if the citizen has obtained a citizenship by means of fraud, he can be compulsory terminated by the central government. And the citizen showed any disloyalty to the Constitution of India, then also he can be compulsory terminated. This compulsory termination of the Indian citizenship is provided by the central government. And if the citizen has unlawfully made any trade or communicate with the enemy during a war, then also that particular person's citizenship will be compulsory terminated by the central government. And if the citizen has within 5 years of a registration or a naturalization has been imprisoned in some other country for 2 years, then also his citizenship will be terminated compulsory by the central government. And the citizen has been ordinarily resident out of India for 7 years continuously, he can be also terminated by means of central government. ഇപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെ എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് പറഞ്ഞത്? ഒരു സിറ്റിസൺഷിപ്പ് ഏതൊക്കെ രീതിയിലാണ് കമ്പൽസറി ടെർമിനേറ്റ് ചെയ്യപ്പെടുന്നത്? സെൻട്രൽ ഗവൺമെന്റ് ഒരു ഇന്ത്യൻ സിറ്റിസൺഷിപ്പിന് എങ്ങനെയാണ് കമ്പൽസറി ടെർമിനേഷൻ കൊടുക്കുന്നത്? മുഴുവനായിട്ട് മൊത്തത്തിൽ അങ്ങ് ടെർമിനേറ്റ് ചെയ്യണം. ഏതൊക്കെ റീസണിലാണ്? ഇൻ കേസ് സിറ്റിസൺ ഹസ് ഒബ്റ്റെയിൻഡ് സിറ്റിസൺഷിപ്പ് ബൈ ഫ്രോഡ്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഫ്രോഡ് മീൻസിലാണ് സിറ്റിസൺഷിപ്പ് ആ വ്യക്തി നേടിയിട്ടുള്ളതെങ്കിൽ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അയാള് കോൺസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷൻ ഓഫ് ഇന്ത്യക്ക് ഡിസ്ലോയൽറ്റി കാണിച്ചു, അതിനെതിരെ പ്രവർത്തിച്ചു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിന് ഡിസോയൽറ്റി കാണിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ആ സിറ്റിസൺഷിപ്പിന് എന്ത് ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കും? കമ്പൽസറി ടെർമിനേഷൻ പ്രൊവൈഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ സെൻട്രൽ ഗവൺമെന്റിന് സാധിക്കും. അതുപോലെ ഒരു സിറ്റിസൺ എനിമി ആയിട്ട് വാറിന്റെ സമയത്ത് എനിമിയായിട്ട് ട്രേഡോ കമ്മ്യൂണിക്കേഷനോ എല്ലാം ഇല്ലീഗലി ആയിട്ട് ചെയ്തെങ്കിൽ, അൺലോഫുൾ ആയിട്ട് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇല്ലീഗൽ ആയിട്ട് ചെയ്തെങ്കിൽ, then also citizenship can be terminated. And here compulsory termination of citizenship, we have not called compulsory termination of Indian citizenship. Then citizen has within 5 years of registration naturalization been imprisoned in any country for 2 years. ഏതെങ്കിലും സിറ്റിസൺ 5 വർഷം രജിസ്ട്രേഷൻ നാച്ചുറലൈസേഷൻ വഴി സിറ്റിസൺഷിപ്പ് ലഭിച്ചതിന് ശേഷം മറ്റൊരു കൺട്രിയിൽ ഇംപ്രസൻഡ് ആയാൽ for 2 years, then also citizenship will temporarily compulsory terminated by the central government. Then if the citizen has been ordinary resident out of India for 7 years continuously, 7 വർഷം തുടർച്ചയായിട്ട് ഇന്ത്യക്ക് പുറത്ത് ഓർഡിനറി റെസിഡന്റ് ആയിട്ട് ഇരിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിലും അയാൾക്ക് എന്ത് സാധിക്കും? അയാളുടെ ഇന്ത്യൻ സിറ്റിസൺഷിപ്പ് കമ്പൽസറി ആയിട്ട് ടെർമിനേറ്റ് ചെയ്യപ്പെടും. So these are the means by how a citizenship can be lost. So the Citizenship Act 1955 prescribed 3 ways of losing citizenship. They are by renunciation, by deprivation, as well as by termination. By renunciation, by termination, and by deprivation. What is deprivation? That is compulsory termination in citizenship by the central government. So that's all about laws of Indian citizenship. In this class, we are discussing certain points related to laws of citizenship. That is, the Citizenship Act of 1955 provides 3 ways of losing citizenship. And are you clear with the topic? And the part citizenship, the topic citizenship is not yet completed. It should be concluded in the next class. So keep watching my channel. If this class is found to be useful, do subscribe my channel. We shall meet in the next class. Students, bye from me. Thank you.